Hey everyone, this is my studio. Just here saying hello. Some tools that I have in the studio: cameras, some HANA tools, assortment of stuff that we'll talk about. But here's a pile of clay that's fresh, just from the manufacturer. This was ordered months and months ago. I'm using one of my HANA tools to open the box here. And this one is domestic porcelain. You'll be able to use any of the three clays that we traditionally used in the pottery studio. What we're looking for, if possible, is for you to get a hold of a box or at least one bag of cone 9 reduction or oxidation clay. This here is my pile of reclaimed clay, and this is cone 6 clay. This clay would turn into glass inside of the kiln if we fired it there, but this is the temperature range that I use in my home studio. This is a bucket of clay that was dug up on the 35W exchange that's being repaired. And if you have the option of going out to find some clay, we can talk about that and process clay as we need it from out in nature, but this would not be able to be fired at the school. It does require a bit of processing. This clay is fairly pure, but it has a number of rocks and sticks and things in it. So I'm filling a bucket about 95% of the way full with clay extending over the top. We'll look at this clay later and process it. All right, here we are in the kitchen, and I'm going to be using 2 cups of flour and 1½ cups of water. The trick about making pizza dough, I have found, is that you do want to use warm water if possible, but I kind of overdo it on the amount of yeast that I use. Now, why I'm talking about pizza dough is that it'll become important later on in the semester if we cannot get clay supplies. So I'm making a batch of pizza dough here for demonstration purposes, I guess. So in this example, I'm making something called a poolish, and I'm using cold water to do it because I've got at least an hour or more that I can let the poolish sit and activate the yeast. What a poolish is a liquid base to your bread, and you normally end up adding a little bit of dry material to your poolish when you're done. So right now, I have this 1½ cups of water that I'm adding to the 2 cups of flour. That'll make a poolish. If I was interested in dough right away and I didn't have time for it to rise, I'd be using 1 cup of water to start instead of 1½ cups. So the poolish is a liquid. It's about the consistency of yogurt. It's just coming into shape here. And later on, I'll be able to wedge this material, the pizza dough, with a little bit of added flour. And we're going to have a look at that right here. This is the finished pizza dough that's had its extra flour added to it. It's very stretchy and elastic. The longer you let it sit in the state, the more elastic it's going to be because you're actually developing gluten at this stage. You might notice that it's not sticking to my hands, and later on it will not stick to the table surface either with a very light coating of flour. Here I'm rolling the dough out, and I'm trying to concentrate on strokes that move vertically up and vertically down, turning the dough 90 degrees on a rotation to try to keep it roundish. And if I were going for a perfectly round pizza, I'd be stopping about right here and turning the dough again and then placing it in the pan. But I'm trying to stretch this dough as thin as I can get it to stretch across the pizza pan. So if you can't get a hold of clay, and food is something that is a concern in your household, you will be able to navigate projects just with the materials that you have at hand cooking in the kitchen. In this particular example, I'm going to be showing you a technique that I typically use in clay, knurling the clay or pleating the clay. And here the pizza dough I'm about to put onto the pizza pan. I just pulled it from the table, free from the table, to make sure that it's movable. transferable from the table to the pan. And here I'll be grabbing the pan and loading it up with the dough. All right, so I've got the pizza laid out, and now I'm going to pleat one edge of the pizza. So this technique of laying material over your thumb, pulling it back over, and pleating it downward is a really ancient technique. It wasn't originated in Rome, but it was very common in Roman pots, in Roman pieces. You'll see things called filial or filigree, which is common to that. On Roman and Egyptian pots. So I'm just pleating one edge of the pizza here just for to show that it can be done, and dough would be a completely usable material for future projects. Okay, moving on to a new pizza here. Here's the finished edge that I was talking about. But we will be talking about expectations and what you need to navigate between now and the end of the semester very soon. This week, I'm still using the time to test projects and materials and processes. So that's why I'm showing you pizza videos. We will be talking about content and class information as the semester goes on very shortly.